What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Thursday night. Going live a little bit late. I got my computer fixed, so I'm happy about that. In the past few streams, it started to bleed through the mic where there's been a super loud crackling noise every time I stream, and it's been driving me crazy. And now, it's pure silence. Except for Eric, you got fan going or something in the background. It's not that bad. Just pure silence. It's real nice. It's real nice. So, no. You're fine. You're fine. I just, wanted to take a moment of silence. But, you got to stay cool. Luckily, it wasn't too hot today. We've been suffering without AC, or at least I have. But yeah, no, I had to get my computer fixed and had to set that back up and eat, and I had rec league tonight. I had a whole bunch of stuff going on tonight, so that's why the stream is a little bit late. But we're going to talk NBA expansion. We're going to talk Vegas, which Eric loves talking about Vegas, and then we're also going to talk about Seattle, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I also talk about my Gary Payton II tweet and his comments and people reading a bunch into my tweet on it. I'll talk about that as well, and then we'll take some questions and just hang out for the next 45 minutes to an hour or so, maybe longer, because these streams tend to go longer than I planned. Anyway, Eric, what's going on, man?
Not much, just excited to be here with all of you.
Yep, absolutely. Beavis is in here in chat. When Beavis is here, it means it's a good stream. You guys are already cracking me up. No Blazers news to talk about. I'm still dropping the top 100 series. I recorded 20 players worth without my mic on, and I realized that the other day. So, already losing my daily upload streak. I'm going to try and get out the top 100 after this, but that means I have to record and edit. It's a whole process. So, I screwed up, Eric. And people were like, oh, you should look at this to check if your mic's on. The problem is that I can check if my mic's on. The problem is that I forget to check if my mic's on. So, yeah, we'll get that back out to you guys. We're trying to get the daily content. Eric will have a CBA video soon. I'll have a mailbag soon after this Top 100 Players series.
You know what I do? I mean, this might not work for you, but I always record like a fake intro to my video and then watch it just to make sure like the mic's working okay, the lighting's good, and all that kind of stuff. So maybe you might want to save yourself some time since this happened a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I record so much that it happens too much, because happening once is happening too much. But with how much I record, like, it happens. It's just like, that's the problem though, is with recording all that I'm doing for the series, man. I just rush it. I'm like, I gotta get this done, and I think I recorded 20 players at once. That's why they were off for all 20 players, and I was like, I just need to get through this. I need to record 20 players, and I'm just trying to, like, do it quickly that I forget to check. So, that's the problem, but I'll go back through, I'll re-record them, and, we'll stay on tap. If I have to, on tap, I don't know what that means. If I have to release 2 tomorrow, I'll release 2 tomorrow, but, yeah, somebody in chat said, why are you not grinding 2K23? I hate 2K, all right? No 2K, man. Eric, do you understand this? We're going to have a 2K talk for a second. Do you understand all the people that, like, constantly complain about 2K, and their complaints are very valid, but then they spend money on 2K and rewards 2K with the money that they pay them? People literally sit here and complain about how bad 2K is, but then they spend money on 2K. So it's like, well, what they're doing is working because it's getting your money. That's why they do it. I don't understand it.
And the whole, like, complaining about players' rankings and stuff, it'll be meaningless in a month anyway, so it doesn't really matter because they'll update them. And people sleep on young players on the Blazers all the time. It's not anything new, so yeah, it's nothing to get worked up about in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Apparently Maxi's an 85 and Simons is an 80. Like, there you go. There's your East Coast bias, because I think those two guys are, like, equal in terms of kind of situations, in terms of, I had them right next to each other in my top 100 series.
And if you move Simons to the starting shooting guard, it drops him to a 79.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. We used to have the conversation like, dang, can Anthony Simons play point guard? Now, according to 2K, he's better at point. So, yeah, I mean, I always hate 2K drop day because of all the, this rating, that rating. It's like, who even knows who's making the ratings? I used to love 2K. Now it's like, I dread the day that it drops and everybody's complaining on Twitter.
Yeah, all you need to know is that Ja Morant, LaMelo Ball, and Donovan Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox all have the same perimeter defensive rating as Herb Jones, Pascal Yeah, Pascal Siakam, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Gary Payton II.
The same as GP?
All 8 of those guys have the same perimeter defensive rating of like 79 or something. It's stupid.
Like, yeah, it's not. Their ratings have gotten worse. Ratings have gotten worse. So it just is what it is, man. Like, I used to get worked up about that, and my initial inclination is to be like, what the hell, man, and rant about it, but I just, who even knows who's making them at this point, man? It must be like a 5-year-old.
Like, Dame and Anthony aren't good 3-point shooters. It's like, it makes no sense, but like, what's the point of arguing? It's never going to change, so.
Yep, but that's my 2K rant, or non-rant, if you want to call it that. Anyway, there's been some rumblings and some rumors about expansion, and I figured this would be a fun thing to talk about. Nothing concrete, Eric. I don't know if I missed a report from somebody somewhere, but the whispers are growing louder and louder, and I think at this point, I would bet that they're expanding to Vegas and Seattle are the 2 favorite destinations for people that leak this stuff. Vegas and Seattle in the next 5 years, I think the NBA will be there. I don't remember who exactly broke rumors, but there's a lot of stuff on Twitter. I'm not prepared for, going in depth, but it just seems like there's a lot of talk around this, so I wanted to talk about it and what it would look like.
Yeah, the original tweet has since been deleted, but it makes too much sense for it not to be true. And that's because the NBA is holding preseason games both in Seattle and Las Vegas in a few weeks. And so the rumor was that I don't know if they're going to wait to announce the Vegas one and the Vegas one because it would be obvious. So maybe they just announce it both together at the Sonics one since that's the first one. But yeah, the rumor is that they were going to announce expansion and that Seattle was going to be one of the teams coming up. But I don't even know if they have. It's possible that they don't even have owners yet or all that worked out because there has been no information about like who would own the team or who's bidding on a team or anything like that. So
yeah, I know Keith Smith tweeted out something about it as well, and he's pretty reputable, but it wasn't really necessarily an information scoop. I just saw him talking about it. Do they have to have owners in order to announce expansion? Because there's not going to be. How does the process work, Eric? I think you're probably more well versed on this than I am. How does the process work with like finding an owner for an expansion team?
Well, the owners first, I think, determine what amount they want to have them bid, and the rumor is, it's going to be maybe even $2 billion to do it per team. So that's one of the things we've been talking about when Jody is looking for a payday is that that's potentially $4 billion split between the other 30 teams. So they just get a check for that. And then, so I think they open it up to then bidders or who wants to bid. And there's obviously not a whole lot of candidates to sift through. And then they go through them and approve the best candidate or whatever. And then, then they're voted on, and then they would announce it, I guess. It's possible they could announce that they're opening up the bidding for those teams and hope to have one in Vegas and Seattle. But yeah, who knows? And
I mean, this happens because it generates more money for the league, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is a moneymaker for the owners when this happens because of that $2 billion franchise fee. So they're going to get paid. And the thing is the league is going to make decisions that are motivated by money. They're a business. Obviously that they're going to care about their image and a bunch of other things, but all that pours into how can we make the most money as a league. That's what owners want to do. Now, owners also, at least some owners, want to win basketball games and have a winning team. The Paul Allen type of owners. Problem is there's some other owners that maybe aren't that way, right? I'm not going to name any names. But in the end, they want to make money. They don't want to lose money off of the NBA. You're talking about 19,000, 20,000 fans at a game 82 times a year, and then you throw in playoffs, you throw in the TV deal, you throw in merch, you throw in, players get paid millions of dollars because the league makes millions and millions, probably billions of dollars, right? So I don't know if it's true that it'll be announced in the preseason. That would be pretty cool. And the Blazers play that game in Seattle, so it would be cool if the Sonics got announced that they're coming back at that preseason game.
I think they play the second game in Seattle. The first game, I think, is the Lakers versus someone. I forgot who they're playing, but I think there's 2 games in Seattle, actually.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought there was only one. I mean, regardless, though, if it's the Blazer game, if it's not, it should be the Blazer game because that would be their rival. We'd have our rival back. That would be awesome. That would be a great way to announce it. I think that it'll happen, even if it's not announced in the preseason. I still think it happens in the next 5 years because there's too much money to be made. You have owners that see $4 billion. That'll be split 30 ways, but $4 billion split 30 ways is still a lot of money. And the owners are looking at that, and they're the ones that are going to approve this. I just don't see how the NBA doesn't expand. I think the league is in a good point to expand. You got a lot of talented players in the league right now. The international game is getting even better. You're seeing more international players with a lot of skills. Like, in the past 5 years, compared to before then, I feel like there are more and more there are more and more talented, undrafted players. And you see a lot of undrafted players coming up through the two-way system. Miami's developed a couple guys, just as an example of just one organization, with Max Strus, with Gabe Vincent, with Duncan Robinson. These are all guys that are undrafted. Trendon Watford went undrafted, and he showed that he can play last year. So I think the talent pool is deep enough. It's not going to be too watered down. You have a lot of star power and name recognition in the league right now, and there's a lot of parity, right? So I think the league is in a really good position right now to expand. Seattle and Las Vegas make a ton of sense. Seattle getting their team back. Las Vegas has just grown and grown and grown. Now they have an NHL team. Now they have a football team, the Raiders. It was said that it was never going to be a destination for an NBA expansion city in the past because there was an all-star game there and it was kind of a debacle. I don't really remember why. It was before my time, but or before I paid attention to this stuff. But at this point, they are an obvious candidate for expansion as well. I really want this to happen, Eric. How do you really want this to happen, and if so, why?
100% yes. In addition to the money thing, I think the NBA still feels bad as a whole just for what they did to the fans in Seattle. And I think this would be a way to, try to make it up to them. I mean, nothing can make up for ripping your team and moving it to Oklahoma City, which just doesn't make any sense at all. But now that they have an arena suitable for NBA games there, assuming they play there, I mean, I guess an owner could also build his own arena somewhere else. But
yeah, and the place that was rumored was like there's a guy named I forget the dude's name, but he was rumored to have bought land south of where the Seahawks play and where the Mariners play, and wanted to turn that into an NBA stadium. But I don't know if that would still be a possibility. But if not, Climate Pledge Arena is suitable. They host the NHL, so obviously have to sort it out with the NHL. Like you have to schedule around that because you would have a hockey team and an NBA team playing there, but that happens in other arenas as well. So they have an NBA ready arena.
Yep. So I think that would be. They're obviously going to get a team if they expand. They're by far the favorite.
Sure.
And then I also think Vegas. I mean, last year was a little weird because of COVID, but the. Why am I blanking on the hockey team's name? The Knights? What is it?
In Las Vegas?
Yeah,
Golden Knights.
Golden Knights, yeah.
Yeah.
They've actually done really well, and they're actually because people said like football will do well there because there's only 8 home games, and people will travel there. So like it won't necessarily be a home crowd, but you'll get a ton of people buying tickets because of the travel destination. But it's actually. Last year, if that's any indication, both with the Knights and the Raiders, they actually had a huge portion of it were locals. So people from Las Vegas are supporting 2 franchises there. and it's a basketball city, and also a city where almost every player in the league loves to visit or would love to play there and get to spend a night or two in Vegas. So I think it's just a no-brainer to have those two teams, and I think both those markets can support a team. Obviously Seattle can. I think Vegas can support it easily, and I'm really excited, and I hope it's true.
Yep. That's the thing is Vegas. It seemed like they didn't know if there was enough of a home crowd, a local crowd, to be able to support a franchise in the past. Like, yeah, you have a ton of tourist activity, but who knows if those tourists care enough to show up to a Las Vegas game when they're not from Las Vegas. I think Las Vegas has grown enough, and that's why this is possible now. That's why, that's why the Golden Knights, as you said, have been successful with attendance, is you have enough of a local fan base that when you add on all the tourist activity, that will say, sure, let's go to a hockey game. And I think tourists will go even more to an NBA game, right? Especially big NBA games. If they could go to Vegas and then see Steph Curry or something, you know what I mean? And then go out after the game for 5 hours on the strip, that's seems like a pretty fun night in Vegas. So I think that it would be successful for sure.
You joke about me liking Vegas so much, but that's why. I know there's rumors they're going to build a separate arena, but T-Mobile, I think it's called T-Mobile Arena or something. That's right there on the strip, and you can just go hang out all day, gamble, do whatever, eat great food, and then go to a game, and then party all night. Or if you're not a partier, you can just go back to your room. There's stuff for everyone in Vegas, especially on the strip. So it's just a great place to travel to, especially if it's just for a night or two to watch your favorite team kick Las Vegas's butt and then come back to Portland.
Yeah, and who says I was joking about you Las Vegas, man?
You just said you at the beginning of the show you said something about Vegas, which Eric loves or whatever, which is true. Yeah.
Which is true. Yeah, says I was joking. Yeah, I didn't know you loved Vegas. That was just a shot in the dark. But who doesn't love Vegas, right? I didn't love Vegas. The only time I went to Vegas was for Summer League. It was back in 2018? It was the Zach Collins Summer League, so 2017. It's just go with your friends, not your girlfriend. All right. If there's anything you take away from the stream, that's Tory's dating advice. Go to Las Vegas with your friends, not your girlfriend. All right. I'm not gonna speak any more on the subject. It would be awesome. What?
Were you 21 yet, or did you just turn 21?
I was 21.
Just turned 21. Yeah.
Yeah. She was like a year and a half older than me. So, it would have been real awkward if I wasn't 21 and she was. I went and saw some summer league. That's why you gotta go with your friends. Go with some Blazer fans. Go with some of your friends. Go watch some summer league. And then the problem is it was way too hot. That's the thing. In winter, it's going to be good temperatures there. So I bet players would love to live there compared to maybe Minnesota or even, unfortunately, Portland. That's just the truth. So I think it will work. It would be awesome to be able to drive up to Seattle to see a Blazer game in Seattle. Mm-hmm. I've never been to a road Blazer game.
Really?
Never. Yeah, I mean, the Sonics moved right when I was getting into basketball as a kid. So I never experienced that. So it would be awesome to be able to experience that. I would honestly want to go to the first game in Seattle and make a vlog around it. You know what I mean? For the main channel, that would be a lot of fun. I wanted to do that with the preseason game. Just I don't think I'm gonna be able to make that happen. But if the Sonics come back in the future, that would be an awesome vlog. First Blazers game back in Seattle. Yeah. So makes for some fun content, and it would be fun to have a true rival back.
Yeah, for sure. I actually went to the last Blazers Sonics game in Seattle, and really? There was all kind people they knew the team was leaving. It was, I believe, that was Durant's rookie year. I think he played 1 year in Seattle. But yeah, so that place was a dump. I couldn't believe that an NBA team played there. So I'm glad they remodeled it and stuff. But I understood why there was a need for a new arena at the time. But yeah, it was still fun to go to the game. But yeah, it was like horrible experience, like in the arena, and the seats were terrible and falling apart and stuff. I'm sure they didn't care at that point since they knew they were leaving. But yeah, that was definitely a problem, and I understand why they were asking for a new arena, but with how rich owners are, they shouldn't be asking for public money anymore. And I think that's going to get less and less common. And I don't think they'll be able to hold cities hostage for that anymore. I think the leagues, if they're smart, will tell the owners that, no, that's your responsibility. So hopefully that's the case moving forward.
Yep. I mean, in the end, for the next 20 years, Seattle will be a baseball town. But it would be awesome for them to have their basketball team back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it's not a basketball town, that makes it easier to get tickets to go up there, too.
Yeah, exactly, man. That would be awesome to go, especially like, very late October, early November, be able to go up there for a Blazer road game and then go to a baseball game. That would be awesome as a Mariners fan. And do we play on the 7th, 8th, or 9th for preseason?
I think we do, actually.
Blazers preseason schedule. I should have put that in the Discord, too, because I keep having to Google it.
I think we have a
And I'm getting like 2020, 2021. Okay, here we go. Let me see here. Because this could be we play on the 9th. We don't play on the 7th or 8th. Depending on the Mariners breaking their freaking curse, which apparently they have like a 99.5% chance of making the playoffs. They're going to be in the wild card. If they make the playoffs, they'll be playing October 7th, October 8th, and if it goes to a game 3, because it's a 3-game series for first round, October 9th is that third game, okay? We plan on doing post-game shows after every preseason game. If the Mariners are playing, though, that game's at 6 p.m. for the Blazers. Who knows when it would be for the Mariners? That might be a stream that I miss, because if the Mariners are playing a game 3, I've been a Mariners fan for like 16, 17 years. I've never, ever seen them play a playoff game. Mm-hmm. I've never experienced it. Like, it's like the Mariners playing a playoff game would be like the Blazers in the finals in terms of like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is real. So, we're hopefully the Mariners would play a little bit earlier. Hopefully they'd already be advanced. Hopefully not eliminated. But yeah, we're gonna have to figure that out. Shout out to anybody in chat who's a Mariners fan along with me. I don't like the Seahawks, but I like the Mariners. Yeah. And it's looking good. Fingers crossed, man. I'm happy right now about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's looking pretty promising. I won't say anything because I don't want to jinx you at all. Yeah.
There we go.
But as to your Vegas comments, I mean, I've been there several times with my wife and had a great time too. So it just depends on what you do. I mean, I've been there with friends as well, and yeah, that's a great time too.
Yep, absolutely. So, the way an expansion draft works is...
Do you want to read Gray Hughes' donation?
Yes, that'll lead us. Now, segue. Yes. Oh, I should have read it so I could have segued it. Good job, Gray. I dropped the ball. Gray Hughes investigates. $10 dodo. Says, one thing I hate, though, is the expansion draft and how you can't protect all your players. Thank you, Gray, for the $10 donation. Yeah, so the way it works, in case anybody is confused, you can protect 8 players from the expansion draft. Is that correct me if I'm wrong on any of this?
Yeah, 8. It's 8.
8 players from the expansion draft.
The last time there was one, at least.
Yeah, it could change, obviously, but that's what it was last time. That doesn't count. Anybody that's a free agent doesn't apply, correct?
The rulings on that is kind of fuzzy because it's like if teams have multiple free agents, they still had to protect them. Like, it's really weird, but...
You have to leave one player unprotected, I believe was the rule.
Yeah, something like that, so...
Yeah, so if you had like a bunch of free agents and only 5 players under contract, you could only protect 4 of them. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing is, like, if the league knows this is coming, GMs will probably like position their rosters so that they aren't completely screwed over in an expansion draft.
Yeah.
But it would probably be a situation where, like, say the expansion draft happened next offseason, Nasir Little's a free agent next offseason, we wouldn't have to protect him because he'd be a free agent. Now, they could work it in where you could draft the rights to a restricted free agent, and then he's a restricted free agent for that expansion team. So if you wanted to, you know, keep that guy, you'd have to protect him.
Yeah.
That is something they could possibly do. But, I don't know. We just have to wait and see on the exact format. But obviously, like, players that will be here in the future, Dame protecting him, obviously. Ant protecting him, Shaedon Sharp protecting him, Nasir Little protecting him. Who knows who's here 3 years from now, 4 years from now, whenever it happens. Because that's the thing. They might announce it this year, but it's not happening for probably... I don't know. If they announce it this year, how long do you think it would take to happen, Eric? Because you do have 2 cities with NBA-ready arenas.
I believe it'll be 2025 just because that's about how long it takes to prepare for all the CBA stuff of having 2 new teams in there. But yeah, I think at the very earliest it'd be 2024, but I think they just make it 2025 to be easy and give everyone plenty of time to...
Yeah, so you're talking at least 2 off seasons from now, if not 3. So who knows? You know what I mean? Like, you look at who was here 2 to 3 years ago, it's a completely different roster. So who knows who else we would want to protect? Assuming Josh Hart is still here, you know, that would be another guy you'd probably protect. Obviously, it depends on who's free agents and whatnot. So it's not really a situation where I'd be too worried. It's just you have to lose one player. The thing is, if you get one of your players drafted in the expansion draft, no more players from your team can be drafted. The expansion teams can only draft one player from each already existing NBA franchise.
And also, with 2 teams, one player from each team. But you also, there's like a lot of strategy, and this is where hopefully by then Cronin has some time to like learn about this and maybe study some of the previous expansion drafts, because what happens a lot of the times, I think if I'm not mistaken, we're Charlotte coming back the second time, the last expansion team.
Charlotte?
I believe that's true because they moved to New Orleans and then they gave them their team back, right?
Yeah, Charlotte Bobcats, 2003?
Yeah, and then the New Orleans Hornets changed their name to the Pelicans, and then they got their name back.
Yeah.
But in that one, so they purposely wanted, like, no contracts, like, no money. So they took, like, all low-level contracts, expiring contracts, young guys, like just potential like rookie deal players. So let's just say it was this summer. Let's just pretend like we made our signings before the expansion draft. I think you could get away with like leaving a Nurk off of there because like a team that is an expansion team that's most likely going to be super young their first few years and try to keep their books clean wouldn't necessarily want a center like Nurkic making $70 million over the next 4 years. So there's kind of a strategy of, it's not like an insult to Nurk to leave him off. It's just, you're kind of banking on them. And you can also, I don't know what the rules are about like tampering and stuff like this, but I'm pretty sure back in the day, there was some like trades that were like, we'll give you a 2nd round pick in this draft if you take this player off our hands, or we'll give you a 2nd round pick if you don't take this guy, or, you know, so like there might be some like weird stuff like that happens too. I don't know if that's like technically legal or not, but I know it did happen in the past.
Yeah.
But yeah, if this is 2025 though, I think you can get away with leaving Dame off because that would be his first.
No, I'm not risking it.
I'm not
risking it.
That would be the first year of. He would be 35 years old,
dude,
and making $120 million over the next 2 years. I don't think a team, despite how awesome Dame is, I don't think they're taking $60+ million on their books with a 35-year-old Damian Lillard.
I don't care, man. Could you imagine, right? After all the loyalty, we're like, yeah, Dame, we're not going to protect you. And then he has to go up to Seattle. and we lose Dame because we're like, oh, let's not protect our potentially best player ever who's been loyal to us, so we can protect, oh, I don't know, freaking Greg Brown the third because he averaged 4 points per game last year and is still like 24 years old, and then we lose Dame. Because I bet you, like, those teams, they're not. I don't know how the books look, but Dame to like start a franchise just as a leader and a star. I mean, I wouldn't be 100% confident. There's no way I could leave Dame unprotected. I don't care. Even if it's like, yes, I agree with everything. I don't think it's likely with how much he's paid and his age. But with Damian Lillard, I'm not risking it.
Yeah.
With Damian Lillard, I'm just. We can lose because we have to have a player drafted anyway.
We don't have to because they don't draft full rosters. So.
Well, we have to leave a player.
There'd be 30 teams, and there would only be,
Yeah,
24. Yes.
But that's the thing is, like, if it was this past offseason, how many players did we have on the books this past offseason? Like, that weren't free agents.
We had Watford, Brown, Nas, Keon, Didi,
Dame.
Oh, Dame was
Josh Hart. Who else do we have on the books, chat?
Yeah, I think that might be it.
That were under contract going into the season. Yeah, Justice Winslow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's
Eric
it.
Bledsoe.
That's Eric Bledsoe. Bro, we're talking about, like, those were the 9 players we had under contract going into this offseason. Like, what? Even if we had more players under contract, I'm not, like, leaving Dame unprotected, so, we could keep our, Greg Brown the third or the equivalent of a Greg Brown the third or a Trendon Watford. Like, it's just not worth it for me. And I feel like it wouldn't be the message you would want to send Dame either.
Yeah, but you could also maybe have him tell those teams he's not going to come or something. It's just okay.
Just seems like a lot for not much reward. See, like, Bledsoe would be the guy you'd leave unprotected. Like, yeah, if you want him. He has a super valuable, non-guaranteed contract, right, Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do it, man. I couldn't do it. I'd be scared to death, dude. Wouldn't you be scared to death going into the expansion draft if Dame wasn't protected?
No, because, all right, let's just say, I mean, it doesn't really work because I'm talking about 3 years from now, but let's just say an expansion draft. Let's just switch that to Nurk, right? So let's just say Nurk was on a good contract, like his $12 million contract from last year, and was not a free agent. So, like, and we left him unprotected, but we also left, like, Keon and Greg Brown unprotected. Like, Keon would be a top 5 pick in any expansion draft because he's a young guy with potential and on a rookie deal with a really minimal contract. So, like, those kind of guys are, like, big commodities. So you can only take one. So, like, that's what you do. You just got to make it so, like, one of your other guys that you don't necessarily want to leave, but you're okay. Like, Keon this year wouldn't be in our rotation, but he would go over anyone else we put unprotected pretty much. So, like, like, that's the kind of strategy I'm talking about, is trying to get like a more appealing offer so you can leave someone that you don't want to lose unprotected, but you don't have to worry about losing him necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could talk me into it with Nurkic, but still, like, I don't know. For me, it's like, we don't know if Keon Johnson is ever going to be a good NBA player, right? He has promise, and he has flashes, and he has upside, and that's why he'd get drafted in an expansion draft for a team starting up, but we don't know if he's ever going to be a good NBA player. Mm-hmm. So if you still want to keep a guy like Nurkic, who you know is a good NBA player, is it worth the risk of potentially losing a good NBA player because you might lose somebody who might be good someday? Mm-hmm. Right? That's kind of the conversation that's had. Like, that's what you're weighing, and it's like, okay, well, but it's risk mitigation. You don't want to, like, you know, if you don't think any team's going to draft Nurkic, then okay, there's not really risk there, and you keep Keon, and you probably keep Nurkic as well, so, like, there's not much downside. But That's the thing, is if there's a lot of teams that are leaving like crappy options on the table in the expansion draft, like the more teams that take that route, like leave a guy like that, a Jonas Valanciunas as unprotected in an expansion draft, the more likely a guy like Yusuf Nurkic would get drafted in an expansion draft.
Yeah, but there's going to be rosters that have multiple. So, like, Philadelphia right now, they signed Montrezl Harrell the other day. They have, I believe they can only keep one of, like, Paul Reed, Isaiah Joe, Charles Bassey, and all those guys. So, like, they're kind of stuck in a position where they would have left Tobias Harris off there, and there's no way either team would take him. But they're going to take like a Paul Reed or something as like a perfect guy to take in an expansion draft. Yeah. So like, I don't think other teams really, it doesn't matter because they can only protect 8. So they're going to have to leave a bunch of players off.
Yeah, maybe, but you're talking about going into free agency where guys are going to be free agents and stuff. So, like, that's the thing, is you're going to end up with some teams where it's like they only have 7, 8 players under contract.
Yeah.
So that's the flip side of it. And how many roster spots are filled with the expansion draft? Do you know?
Well, the Bobcats had to take 14 players, it says.
Why 14?
I don't know. I think
because then you got the draft. Because don't they get like first round picks?
Yeah, they had one first round pick. Maybe they just had a first round pick, and then
I think they had like the 6th or the 7th overall pick, but it couldn't move up in the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like just automatically the 6th or 7th overall pick or something like that. But
yeah, I'm just looking at the expansion rules from when the Bobcats did it.
Yeah,
this is from April of 2004. So the draft was on June 24th, the actual NBA draft, and the expansion draft took place 2 days before that. And so the Bobcats will select a minimum of 14 players who are under contract or restricted free agents. Oh,
okay. So
yeah, So like
you'd have to protect Nas if it was next year.
Or this year we would have to protect Anthony.
Yeah. Okay.
Bobcats may select no more than one player from each team. They can only select players that are left unprotected, obviously. Each of the 29 teams can protect a maximum of 8 players on its roster who are under contract or are restricted free agents. Each of the 29 teams will designate the players on its roster who are eligible for selection by the Bobcats. Each of the NBA teams must designate at least one player on its roster to be eligible for selection, even if the team does not have 8 players under contract or is restricted free agents. So that was what you said. Any player under contract is immediately placed on the Bobcats roster. Any eligible restricted free agent shall immediately become an unrestricted free agent. What?
Read that again?
Any eligible restricted free agent selected by the Bobcats shall immediately become an unrestricted free agent.
Then why would they draft him?
I don't know.
That doesn't even make any sense.
I mean, they could still sign him, I guess.
Yeah, but it's like, we're going to draft your guys so he's not restricted for you so that maybe we could sign him. What?
I don't know what that rule is.
That's I feel like that would be a rule that wouldn't be the same. Like, that's just a stupid rule that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, unrestricted free agents are not eligible to be protected, nor are they eligible to be selected by the Bobcats.
Yeah.
So, really, I mean, since it takes place before the draft, that means Sharp and Walker wouldn't have mattered. They would, like, if it was this year, so we wouldn't have had to protect them. Yeah, so that pretty much leaves us. That's a pretty easy decision, I think.
Yeah.
I think we could actually have. Let me just look it up. Our exact roster.
Well, if there's 2 teams drafting 14 players, I wonder if, like, you can only draft. Only one player from a team can be drafted. I wonder if that would apply to, like, both teams. So, like, 28 teams would have their players drafted, or if it was like one specific team could only draft one player from each other team.
If I remember from the last time there was two, I think it was still the same, and that's why it became more important to pick the best
It was
player.
still the same.
Like
What do you
like
mean?
like it was still only one player from each team.
For
So
both teams?
yeah, so then it made it difficult to, or like you had to really strategize the draft. So like if you really wanted a player, or there was two good players from a team, you might, with the first pick, you might take the player you really wanted over a player that you might want more, but that there's not another player from that team you would take, if that makes sense. So
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's like anybody that's not on a negative contract that's a good player, I'd have a hard time leaving unprotected.
Yeah.
Like if it's Tobias Harris, he's a negative contract. At that point, yeah, okay. But like Nurkic, I don't think is a negative contract. I don't think it's a great contract, but I don't think he's a negative contract. Like, I mean, you could have a team, an expansion team that's like, oh, we're gonna be good this year and we're gonna like compete and you know, could look at a guy like Nurkic and be like, you know, if he has 1 year left on his deal and say, you know what, he's going to be our starting center. And then next off season, we're going to, you know, he's going to be a free agent and we'll have that cap space.
but what about this year with 3 years left?
If it was this year with 3 years left, that's a different story. But if it was this year, Nurkic was already free agent.
I mean, this following.
If it was next year, yeah. I mean, the thing is if he does get drafted, who's Portland's center?
Right.
Like, we're kind of screwed. Whereas we have a million cards, it's like, I get the logic between, like, okay, you want to keep a young, high upside piece like a Keon Johnson, but it's like, we have a bunch of guards and we're set at that position for years. Josh Hart is still young enough. Like, you got Gary Payton on like, he would have 2 years left on his card. Last year's a player option, but it's like, you can always, hopefully Nas breaks out and you have Shaedon Sharpe. It's like, long term, you have Dame, Ant, Hart, who's still decently young, like, still, like, just entering his prime. Nasir Little, who's young, and Shaedon Sharpe. That's your five guys, point guard, shooting guard, small forward positions. And you can play those five guys at those three positions without having any minutes left over and still, like, not playing guys too much. Like, you can sort that out. So it's like, do you risk losing your starting center without a possible backup plan?
Right.
Just to save on just to keep a sixth guard with upside? That would be hard for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's more just banking on, you gotta try to figure out what the other team strategies are. Like, if you think there's any chance, obviously you don't. But if they're looking to not take anyone with a sizable contract, then I think you might be able to get away with it. But
you're balancing risk versus expectation. Like, is this risk worth it for us regardless? And then, like, also, what do we expect the other teams to do?
And then also, so if it was 2 days before the draft again, that would have meant we hadn't done the Jeremy Grant trade yet, which might actually be smart if Detroit protected him, because then we could get him and not have to protect him this last offseason. But obviously we would have protected Dame, would have protected Anthony, would have protected Josh Hart, Nas would have been protected, but that's pretty much. And then you got Keon, Trendon, that's 6. So yeah, Greg Brown, Justice Winslow. That's everyone. So
Lozada would be unprotected, and Eric Bledsoe would be unprotected.
Didi and Eric Bledsoe, and Didi probably gets picked, and that's
the thing. That would probably be the scenario anyway. You know, so it could be a situation where it's very clear cut, and it's just like, oh man, please take Didi Lozada off our hands, right?
That's a way to save some cap space.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, if it's the case where, basically, if both teams can only draft one player from each team, there's only one team that's not going to have a player taken. Or no, there's only 2 teams.
2 teams, yeah.
2 teams that won't have players taken. I mean, Portland, if it was like Bledsoe on, is non-guaranteed contract, so they could waive him, right? And maybe that would be a situation they do and just stretch out his cap hit, but you don't want to do that if you don't have to.
They would just take Didi and then do the same thing we did with them, or just have him on the roster for 1 year.
that would be a scenario where we might be one of those two teams.
Yeah, maybe.
It's just that's just worthless, man. Like that's just crap. So, question: what team? Here's the thing. Pet peeve of mine. Whenever I see people talking about expanding to Seattle and Las Vegas, they're like, "Oh, well, you got to move 2 teams from the West to the East." The thing is, there's 15 teams on each conference, right? You add 2 Western teams, so it's like you have 17 Western teams and 15 Eastern teams. You only need to move 1 to make it 16 and 16. But people, for some reason, think since you're adding 2 Western Conference teams, you got to move 2 Western Conference teams to the East, and that's just people. I'm surprised how many people think that's the case. If they add Seattle and Las Vegas, you're going to have 1 team moving from the West to the East. So with that being said, who would you move? There's 2 very obvious candidates, Eric. Who would you move?
I'd probably move Memphis, just because it's the closest to a cluster of teams from the East. Minnesota makes sense too, but yeah. I mean, I guess I don't have a problem with either one, but Memphis seems like the furthest east and closer to a lot of other teams.
Yeah, I agree. Memphis makes the most sense. Some people say New Orleans. It's Memphis is
more east than them. Yeah, I mean, I get New Orleans.
And they're closer to the Northeast as well, which matters, I think, because there's a lot of teams up north of them.
Well, see, New Orleans, the reason why I always hesitate to say them is there's the 3 teams in Texas, and those teams are all closer than any of the East teams are to New Orleans. So, I think it makes sense. You can justify them being close enough to those teams. So, even though New Orleans should be in the East technically, I think with the way Texas is in the West, I think you have to include New Orleans with them.
Yeah. So, how would you... Divisions don't really matter.
Yeah.
But every league has divisions. I mean, I assume they'd keep divisions. I think it should just be a situation where... And I did this math, and I posted it in the Discord. If you're not in our Discord, link in the description box below. Let me know if it doesn't work, and I'll give you guys a new one. I think you have 8-team divisions, 2 divisions per conference, right? 16 teams per conference, 2 8-team divisions. And then you play the teams in your division 4 times. So since you're in your own division, obviously, that's 7 other teams in your division. 4 times, that's 28 games. You play the teams in the other division in your conference 3 times. That is 24 games. And then you play the teams in the other conference, which is 16 teams. You play them twice, just like we already do with Eastern Conference teams. So that's 32 teams. That adds up to 84 games. Then basically you take 2 teams that are in your conference but outside your division, and instead of playing them 3 times, you play them twice to get it down to 82 games from 84. Is that how you think it should work? Do you have a different opinion on that? What do you think?
Yeah, it might become tricky then, trying to decide which teams you play or whatever, but that's the way it is right now, so who cares, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's perfect, and that's the way I would do it. I would also be fine with just having 2 conferences since there's no division winner. But I do think if they do go to 2 8-team divisions in each conference, that the division winner should get something again. And I believe it should be a berth into the playoffs with the worst position of 6th. So they avoid the play-in. So if you win,
I just don't think you'll ever run into a situation where 6 teams are better. 6 teams from one division are better than every team from another.
But especially if you're only playing a couple teams from the other division twice, so it's you're playing a majority of your games against your own division. I think there could be a potential scenario where they beat each other up. We know some of the divisions would be stacked this year.
It's just, but that's the thing with teams beating each other up. It's how are you going to have 6 teams from one division that are better than the other?
Right.
So I would say, I agree. I would say division winners get home court advantage in the first round. So top 4.
Yeah.
Is what I do.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem either way, but I don't think they should be guaranteed the 2nd seed or anything like they used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it was like you had 3 division winners were guaranteed home court advantage, but you're talking about 3 division winners from 5-team divisions. So like sometimes you get a division winner that was like the 5th or the 6th best record, but with 8-team divisions, your division winners are probably already top 4 regardless. But I think that would be a solid reward is you get home court advantage. And it would make it matter to like win your division, but also wouldn't make it like matter too much.
I thought the problem was because, like, didn't we have a higher seed? Isn't that when they changed the rule? The Blazers had a higher seed but didn't have home court advantage or something because even though they were the higher seed, it didn't
makes no sense. Yeah. Like, how are you the higher?
That's why
stupid.
That's why I almost would rather just have it just be 2 16-team conferences if the divisions aren't going to mean anything.
The thing is, Memphis, because it was against Memphis, and Memphis was the 5 seed, and Portland was the 4 seed, but Memphis had home court advantage. In that situation, Memphis should have just been designated as the 4 seed.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
If they have home court advantage, the higher seed has home court advantage. Like, that's how it always is in every sport. So they should have been designated the 4 seed, and Portland should have been the 5 seed.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I think if you have 2 8-team divisions, it's, set up in a way where you could do home court advantage and it wouldn't be anything crazy or anything drastic, but also make it matter a little bit. Like, and since you're playing, only teams in your division are the only teams you're playing 4 times, it does kind of create a situation where it's a little bit more regional. And, there's some rivalries. And then maybe bake it into the CBA where, like, players on the division winner get $1 million bonus or something. Like, make it mean something a little bit. And that's the thing, if there's 8 teams in a division, it means more to win your division, because that's 8 teams that you're better than, 7 other teams that you're better than. I know people laugh at division banners or whatever, but I mean, beating 4 other teams isn't as tough as beating 7 other teams. So I don't know. It's just like, if you're going to keep divisions, to your point, you got to make them matter. You got to make them mean something, because right now they mean literally nothing. You play almost every team in the West 4 times.
And for the record, I hate the idea of making eliminated conferences. I hope they keep the conferences at the very least.
I mean, yeah, no other league has eliminated conferences. There's no reason why you should, because, like, that's the thing. If you have 31 other teams, you can make it so some of the teams you play 3 times and some of the teams you play twice. But that just makes travel tough. The reason why you have divisions is because the closest teams to you play them the most, you don't have to travel as much. Yeah. And it creates regional rivalries. Like, you play your rivals more. Portland would play Seattle 4 times every year. They play in Seattle twice every year and play in Portland twice every year.
Well,
that's how it should be.
You could have it to where, so you needed, in your scenario, you needed 2 less games, right? So if it was just 2 16-team conferences, it would just be like your 6 closest teams to every team you'd play 4 times, and then the other 9 teams you play 3 times. I think that would be the best way to do it.
Yeah, that would be possible. I mean, that's the thing. They need to make divisions mean something if they're going to keep them.
Mm-hmm.
And, it is kind of nice looking at a team like that's a division rival. Utah, Minnesota, OKC, and then Denver are division rivals.
Yeah.
We play them 4 times every year. What?
I just mean, like, technically it's weird to say, like, Minnesota is our rival, It's just, like, it sounds so weird.
Absolutely. That's the thing, though, is, like, Seattle. Seattle. The other way they could do it is they could do 4 4-team divisions in each conference, and then if you're a division winner, then you get to avoid the play-in. But that's, like, you could have one division that's really bad.
See, that's why they got rid of that, because...
Yeah, like, that could be a little overkill.
With only 4 teams per division, man, that would be scary for some of those bad seasons for a whole division. And yeah, I wouldn't risk that.
Yeah, I mean,
I know it makes sense. Like, you could split them up geographically by 4s pretty easily, and that would probably be the best way to do it. But I just don't like that idea.
So what would be Portland's 4? Like, you'd have the 4 California teams maybe. You'd have Portland, Seattle, Utah, and Denver?
Yeah, probably. You could also do the 2 no-Cal teams with Portland and Seattle and have, like, the 2 SoCal teams with Vegas and Phoenix.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Because that's the thing, though, is, like, you have 4 California teams. It would just be nice to have a California division.
And then you have, you have Utah, then you have Utah, Denver,
OKC and like
and
Phoenix,
Minnesota.
or oh yeah, you go
And then
Midwest.
you'd have the three Texas teams in New Orleans.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because that's the thing is if you had the four California teams, then you had Portland, Seattle, Utah, and Denver.
Yeah.
Right? Then Phoenix and Las Vegas, who do they get grouped with? Two Texas teams, and then the other Texas team is indifferent? Or is it like Phoenix, Las Vegas, OKC, and Minnesota?
That's why.
But that's a pretty wide-ranging division. Yeah. So that's why I think it would make sense just you have Portland. Like if you had 8-team divisions, you'd have the four California teams, you'd have Portland and Seattle, you'd have Phoenix and Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. That's the western part of the Western Conference. Then the eastern part of the eastern part of the Western Conference, yeah, whatever you want to call it, Central Division, whatever. You'd have the three Texas teams: OKC, Denver, Utah, Minnesota, and New Orleans.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty easy, easy. So I think that would be the way to go, and then just give the division winners with two 8-team divisions home court advantage. It's like because that's the thing. If you have 4 teams from one division better than any other team from another division, that probably means that they had some really bad teams in that division that they just were able to beat up on in order to inflate their records to that point. So I think that might be the reasoning that you could give for like, okay, we're at least going to give division winners home court advantage.
Mm-hmm.
For 8-team divisions. You can't do it with 4.
Yeah.
It's fun to think about, though.
And there's no other way to split up 16 evenly, so I think you have to. I think you have to go 8.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like it would make the play-in look a little bit better. With 32 teams, you have 20 teams technically play games after the season. I think it's fine right now with 30 because you only have 16 teams in the playoffs, but that's still more than half. Mm-hmm. If you had only half of the teams are going to get into the actual playoffs, like I think you can run with that.
Yeah.
Especially with the NFL expanding their playoffs to 14 out of 32 teams are in the playoffs. Like 16 out of 32 for the NBA is pretty close to that. Mm. Baseball has expanded their playoffs. Now they have 10 teams. Or no, is it 12 teams? Yeah, it's because it's 6 per league. 12 teams out of 30, right? So those are expanding. The college football playoffs expanding. Like playoffs are expanding. I think the NBA has always had the biggest field. But if it was a situation where, like, yeah, only 12 out of the top 32 teams don't have to deal with the play-in, I don't know. I think that sounds right to me.
Can you imagine old school baseball where only, like, 4 teams made the playoffs?
Dude,
it's so crazy.
Especially when you can play games back-to-back-to-back days, and you play 162 all season long. Why would the playoffs ever be like that?
Well, I think the theory was if you play 162 games, you know who the best teams are, but yeah.
It's just like, why are you dragging it out with, like, all these bottom feeders playing? Like, I guess for, minor leaguers trying to establish themselves in the MLB, but it's just like, I never understood that with baseball. I like the wild card system. I mean, I don't know. Like, 6 is fine, too, I think. It just means, like, the division winners in baseball always have meant something. Mm. Always have meant something.
Yeah.
In the past, it was like, okay, you'd have 3 division winners already in the next round, then 4 versus 5, the 2 wildcard teams would play in the wildcard game, and I thought that made a lot of sense. But now it's like the top 2 division winners get a bye, and then the third best division winner plays the worst wildcard, and then the first wildcard plays the second wildcard, so you have 4 teams playing in the first round for baseball, with one of them being a division winner.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense to the AL because, like, the Central Division is worse than, like, the wild card teams. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I like it because Seattle needs all the help they can get, but it looks like this year maybe they wouldn't have needed that extra wild card spot.
Huh. Yeah, I do like that the baseball switched to 3 games for the wild card instead of just 1 game, because in baseball there's too much variation. It's not necessarily the best team winning every game, but I do like it in basketball how it's like a 1-game take all, because I think having some, and that's the whole, I saw people in chat mentioning the stupid mid-season tournament idea, which I agree with people in chat saying that's like the dumbest idea ever. Like So yeah, do not do that, NBA. Like you will not create some magical soccer thing, tournament that happens. Like it'll just be dumb. But like,
They would have to do it like they'd have to do everything right to make it so that it wasn't cringy. I'm not gonna completely rule out them being able to do something that's like at least intriguing because the regular season can drag on a bit, but it depends on how if the games don't count towards regular season record. But it's like if they do count towards regular season record, how do you make sure the games are even and the schedules like are even? Like there's just so many things to sort out that I don't think they would get it right. So I would be worried for them to do it. Mm-hmm. But like I don't know if they figured out how to answer literally everything that could go wrong with that. Maybe it could be okay.
We'll see. I don't think anyone can come up with an answer that makes sense. So that's why I say it won't work.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's what I'm saying. I was like, I'll just wait and see. But dude, Beavis with a let me just rant about the Mariners for 10 seconds. He says, without the wild card, the Mariners wouldn't exist right now. Beavis, they're in the second out of 3 wild cards. They wouldn't exist without the wild. There's always been a wild card, though, right? Because you had 4 teams get in.
No, before it
was 4 team divisions.
Yeah, well, like, and Chris mentions even later back where it just used to be the NL and the AL team. Whichever the top team was met in the World Series. There was no playoffs.
Yeah. Well, if we want to throw it back, Houston used to be in the NL. They didn't come to the AL until, 2010? So if that was the case, if we're throwing it back, Beavis, then if Houston was in the NL, Mariners would have already clinched their division. So, I don't know. Talking about 96. Why are you talking about 96, man? Way to show your age, Beavis. Anyway, anything else you want to talk about expansion-wise before we touch upon Twitter?
I mean, it's all fun to talk about, so I'm glad there's a glimmer of hope that this is going to become a reality because being nerds with this kind of stuff, as you and I are, and talking about roster things, and imagine that mock-off season with 2 expansion teams. That would be like the funnest thing ever.
Will you get the 2 expansion teams?
We'd have it wouldn't be like the cliche every year. Oh, what 8 players would you protect? Like this would actually be we could have a video series about it. We could pretend we're the 2 new teams and who we could have our own mock expansion draft, like who we would pick, and then we could compare teams and have chat vote on who's the better team and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of cool content that would come along with that as well.
Yep. So after Seattle and Vegas, looking into the distant future, what would be the next expansion destinations? On your mind? I have one in particular which would be fun, which is Vancouver, British Columbia, not Vancouver.
Give them back one.
Yeah, give them back, and then you got the Northwest Trio again. That would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Liam says Baltimore, but I mean, Washington, D.C. is really close. I don't know if you need both of them. Cincinnati would be cool. I mean, there's been a stadium ready for an NBA team in Kansas City for 10 years, and they haven't.
Yeah, and you don't have a team in St. Louis either, so
yeah,
Kansas City would make sense. I don't know if Louisville is big enough, but Louisville could be kind of cool, I guess.
Nashville's blowing up, but that might be too close to Memphis. I don't know.
Yeah, Louisville's pretty close. Louisville's as close to Nashville as Memphis is, so maybe you go with Louisville. It's by Cincinnati. I don't know if you'd be able to tap into that Cincinnati market, though. Indianapolis is super close to Louisville, though. That's the problem. Indianapolis is super close to Cincinnati. Indianapolis is closer to Cincinnati than Nashville is to Memphis. Do you give Tennessee 2 teams?
I don't know.
That's the thing is, there's other leagues where it's Portland deserves a baseball team. There's some obvious destinations in other leagues. For the NBA, after they get to 32, I'm not sure. Kansas City's one of them. Vancouver, British Columbia is one of them. I think you could even throw a team in, Montreal. You could tap into the Canadian market. I mean, and then maybe the 4th team is, in Europe. which sorting out the travel is a headache, but if you had like a European team.
Well, I mean, people in chat are mentioning Mexico City, which I know the NBA would love, but I think Mexico City would be a problem. I'm not hating on Mexico City or anything like that, but I don't think like a lot of free agents would go there or want to go there or would be happy with being drafted there and stuff like that.
Yeah. Whereas, do you feel like NBA players would rather play in like in Europe, or for an NBA team in Europe, or for an NBA team in Mexico City?
I mean, the travel would be terrible, but yeah, I think they'd rather play it.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking,
like
many
London
years
or
into
something.
the, at least 2 decades into the future, probably. After they expand to 32, I wouldn't expect any more expansion after that, but, who knows? Who knows what advancements in technology there are, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But, like, that would be my 4 choices, would be, like, Vancouver, Kansas City, a team in, like, Ottawa or Montreal, and then a team in Europe. That would be my 4 to go from 32 to 36.
Yeah.
I can't really think of another. That, like, maybe you could throw it.
Perfect.
Yeah, 32 is good. I mean, 36 would be fun. But yeah, maybe you could throw a team in like Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, but
Richmond.
Yeah, like you don't have like a big city there, but you do have a large, like there's a lot of population there. Just looking at Richmond, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, maybe that could be another option. But Louisville is just super close to Indianapolis, so I don't know. And Nashville's close to Memphis, so it's hard.
I wonder if San Diego could support a team with 2 LA teams. They probably could.
My opinion has been that the Clippers should just move back to San Diego.
Well, they're not going to. They're building that new arena.
I know, but it's just like have your own city. Have your own city. Like it's, I don't like. I get it. I get it for baseball. Like you got the Cubs and you got the White Sox, and the leagues have always been very separated. So okay, I get it. Same thing with the Dodgers and the Angels. For basketball, I don't really like cities having 2 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when they're playing in the same arena. It's like it's a little different for me when it's Brooklyn and then you got the New York Knicks. Different boroughs and whatnot, but I don't really like there's 2 LA teams. But you'd be talking about like Sacramento, San Francisco, which is Golden State, Las Vegas, 2 LA teams, San Diego, and Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well just put a team in Reno at that point too.
Reno's nah.
Nah, I mean the joke is that you're loading up on that region if you do that. That's a little overkill.
Yeah.
Honolulu, I do not think would be feasible.
Mm-mm.
Zen Master, I don't think Honolulu would be feasible. Like at least anytime soon. Because it's just you're talking about people aren't gonna go to a game if they're in Hawaii. Like it's just a bunch of tourists in Honolulu. They're not gonna. I feel like they're not gonna go to NBA games. They could be out on the beach for sunset. Like it's a little different. You go to Vegas compared to you're going to Hawaii. I just feel like, and you wouldn't have the local base that Las Vegas does anywhere close to that. So I don't think Honolulu would work.
Mm-hmm.
It would be cool, but
yeah, I think places like Honolulu and overseas in Europe are more still at this time just like places they should definitely play games at, like the NFL does, but not necessarily have a team there. Because I know you're talking about hypersonic jets and stuff, but like that's just to Atlanta and back. Like they're not just going to play Atlanta, and think how many times they'd have to go back and forth throughout a season and things like that, and teams having to go, like Portland having to go there once a year and stuff like that. I don't know. It just seems a little excessive.
Yeah. Chris Brandlin says Honolulu has only 350,000 population, and Kieran said there's lots of people living in Honolulu. 350,000, dude. that's not much. That's not enough to support an NBA team.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close. I mean, you're talking about in the Portland area. In Portland's a small market, right? In the Portland area, it's like over 2 million. It might be 3 million. Like in Vancouver alone, there's a part of Vancouver that's like definitely a part of Vancouver that just hasn't been annexed as part of Vancouver. If it did, Vancouver would be the second biggest town in Washington at like 250, pushing upwards of 300,000 people. Like where I live in Vancouver, I'm literally like a 5-minute drive away from downtown, and I'm not technically counted as part of the Vancouver population. If I was, it would be like 250,000. Vancouver, Washington. Not Vancouver, British Columbia. Vancouver, Washington. We couldn't support a team. So 350,000 isn't enough.
Well, both Salem and Eugene have 180,000. So if you combine those, that's the size of Honolulu.
Yeah.
So like that's not near enough.
Yeah, like
I mean, they'd be the people who were into it would be rabid or whatever, but that's not enough. Yeah.
You'd have to make a really easy way. You'd have to make an easier way for them to island hop and go to games. Like, it's just not possible. Zach says, I think if they build a stadium on a ship where they can play while traveling to the Hawaii, that could work.
To the Hawaii.
Zach, you're funny. Anyway, that's enough expansion talk. So, final thing. I was like, I said I wasn't going to talk about this, but Eric brought it up. Let me thank this dono first. Shout out Mike Aldridge at the buzzer with the $5 dono. Says, I still say Mexico City. You would have a whole country plus tons of Mexican American fans. Thank you, Mike Aldridge, for the $5 dono. You definitely have the fan base and the support. I don't think NBA players would want to play in Mexico City, for various reasons. Like, that's just kind of the vibe that I've gotten whenever Mexico City's talked about. Is it just doesn't seem like NBA players would want to play there. Like somebody from there would obviously love to play there, right? But the average NBA player, I feel like they would not want to play in Mexico City. And the thing is, I don't know if they'd want to play in Europe either. And if they don't want to play there, then it's going to be hard to get a team there that works. I
mean, you kind of hate to hear this, but there's players that don't want to play in Canada either. So, yeah. So, I don't want to sit here and like trash talk Mexico City or anything as a city. I don't like trash talking any city as a city. I hate when people trash talk Portland as a city. Every city has beautiful parts of it, cultural parts of it, bad parts of it, and everything in between. Right? So it's like, if you focus on the bad, yeah, Portland sucks if you focus on the bad. Portland's beautiful if you focus on the good. Like, it just depends on what you look at. They're big cities, so you have everything there. Like, you have good, bad, everything in between. So that's why I don't like trash talking cities. It's just, I don't know if the NBA players would want to play there. That's kind of the holdup. But it is, I don't think they want to play in Portland. I can't imagine wanting to go to Mexico City. Yeah.
So, who knows? It's definitely something the NBA would consider, though.
And then we did have a dono earlier that didn't apply to expansion, so I didn't read it off at the time. So sorry, Trevor Schindler. We waited for that, but he had $2 donation. Said, found you guys a month ago. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Trevor. Hopefully you're still in here. We appreciate your dono, man. Always cool to hear from new people that found us recently. So means a lot, and thank you for the donation. Anyway, let's move on and talk Twitter, Eric. Well, let's talk Gary Payton quote. So I'll let you lead this off, and then I'll talk about my tweet, and we can have a discussion on this.
Well, I forgot what it was from.
Gary Payton II was talking to like a Warriors podcast or something. Like media, Warriors media, something. Basically asked him why he left, and he basically just said, I left for the money. Didn't give any other reason. That's paraphrasing. There's a little bit more to it, but basically said he left for the money.
Yeah. And in reality, I mean, the rumor was that Golden State was willing to bring him back despite the big hit on their luxury tax for the taxpayer mid-level exception amount. And so we obviously offered more than that and got hard capped. So we had to offer more than that to get him. And so technically, I think that's correct that he took the best offer financially for him. Now, if you want to argue the Warriors situation, he already knew he was good in that. So it's kind of risky to take the money if it's not that much more. But I think they were only willing to give him like 1 or 2 years, whereas he got 3 years. Well, I think he's got a player option for the third year, but yeah, so yeah.
I mean, we knew that he wanted to get paid,
Mm-hmm.
and that's very obviously justifiable. Like, the dude has never been paid and scratched a claw to get his way in the league. He wants to be set.
It was someone who was willing to be a video coordinator for the first month of the season last year with Golden State, and just to like hang around the roster and hopefully get signed eventually.
Yeah, so it's very understandable. Very understandable. I tweeted out something in response to it. I said, that's not exactly what you want to hear as a Portland fan. Which people took, and it was kind of ambiguous, and this is why I say that if you have any sort of following or platform, you should never tweet out something that's ambiguous, because people will take it a bunch of different ways that you maybe didn't initially mean, right? And that's what happened on Twitter. People took it to mean all sorts of things, like I say he shouldn't have chased the bag, or he shouldn't have cared about money, and like all this stuff I never ever said. So that was the whole Twitter thing. All I said was, that's not exactly what you want to hear as a Portland fan, because he didn't give another reason. Obviously, a big motivation was the money. The main motivation was the money. I probably told you that on that stream right after he signed, that like he wanted to get paid, as you know, or when it leaked that they were willing to give him the taxpayer mid-level exception, and he chose the bigger payday to come to Portland, right? Like, that was obviously a motivating factor, and I'm not saying it shouldn't have been. I just said, as a Portland fan, like, you don't want to hear somebody you just signed tell a rival team, basically, though, you know, I'm sure he might have another reason, but he made it sound like the only reason he went to Portland or cared to go to Portland was for the money. And you never want to hear a guy that you just signed tell your rival team that as a fan. Like, who wants to hear him say that as a Blazer fan? Like, I would love it if he said, yeah, the money, but also, you know, and come up with another reason why, like, he's excited to be in Portland. Like, I think I can take their defense to the next level, or just anything. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'd want to hear, is him say, you know, I think I can make a difference there defensively, or something, you know. But you never just want to hear a player say, yeah, I went there for the money, as a fan of a team. Like, I don't see how anybody could even argue that. Like,
yeah, I mean, the hope is, well, I think a lot of people are willing to give him a pass before they call him like someone who would take a contract and then not perform. But
I don't even think it's that, because I think it'll be competitive. It's just like, you know, just what want him to say. You know, I that's the thing is Beavis says Tory likes being lied to. I'm not saying he shouldn't have said that he came for the money. It's just, you know, as a fan, you don't want to hear him list that is the only reason. That was the thing. Is that he listed that's like the only reason he came here.
I mean, it technically is, because if all things were equal, if Golden State offer was the same, he would have stayed. So he technically only came here because we offered him the most amount of money.
No, I see, and I get all that, but that's not what you want to hear him say to a rival team. You know, you want to hear him talk up his new city as a fan. Like,
go ahead.
So I just said that's not exactly what you want to hear. Right? I'm not saying he should have lied or should have said this or should have said that. Like, I'm just saying that's not exactly what you want to hear as a fan. You never want to hear a player. You don't want to hear a player tell your rival team that he only came to your team for the money.
Yeah.
Not a problem with him saying that. I didn't have a problem with him saying that. I'm just said that's not exactly what you want to hear. But people take that and run with it, and just means a million different things. And that's my fault for being ambiguous on Twitter. I should know better. I normally explain everything so that doesn't happen. But this time I slipped up. I was a little too ambiguous. And people were like, this is a horrible take. Of course he wanted to get paid. And it's like, I never said otherwise, man. I never said otherwise. Yeah, which is fine. I can handle the Twitter stuff. I hadn't had that happen in a while. So I was cool with it. A little bit of Twitter attention for once. Just to get me ready for the season, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I equate it to like the Live Tour that's going on right now. So for those that don't know, the Live Tour is a golf tour that is trying to like it's run by Saudis and like blood money, and they are trying to buy players for the PGA Tour to move over, and it's just like the first 20 or so players that all went over were like, no, this is a real good opportunity for me. It's like, shut up, man. You got paid $100 million to go there. Like, that's the only reason. And now finally there were some guys recently who have said, I mean, like, it's life-changing money. I know the consequences of these actions, but like, there's nothing I can do about, I'm not going to give up $100 million to just for some moral stuff. Like this sets my family up for life. So I do appreciate the honesty. So like, no,
and I respect that, man. It's like people thought I wasn't respecting that, which not the case, you know, just with like, it's if you're talking to a rival as a competitor, even if I came to Portland only for the money, it would be like, yeah, and I'm going to help them beat you guys next year. I'm going to make a difference on the defensive end of the floor. You know, like some competitive sort of statement. Especially from a guy who's like, Gabe it works and he got paid because of how competitive he is. Yeah. Right? Like, you know, that's what I would want to hear. Otherwise, it's like, I don't exactly want to hear just the money. I want to hear you give a competitive answer. That's just, as a fan, I have no problem with him saying the money because it's true and he's telling the truth. I have no problem with that, you know? I just would have wanted to hear a little bit more. So that's what my tweet was about. And people took that completely different and think I had a problem with him saying the money in the first place, which was not the case.
Well, I think part of it is there was a lot of backlash against the Golden State organization for not signing him and for letting him get away. He was well liked, and I think he just was playing into that a little bit too. Like that's why he didn't talk crap. But yeah. So, you know, I don't know. That's just my viewpoint on it. Didn't have a problem with it. Some people thought I had a problem with it. I didn't really have a problem with it. I just said that's not exactly what you want to hear. I tried to word it in a way that obviously didn't work. So, I'll stay off the Twitter for a little bit. That's the thing. You never want the Warriors fan base or the Raptors fanboys, for that matter, to ever find a tweet that they don't like. And I think some Warriors fans didn't like that tweet. And there's a couple Warriors fans there like, what, you think players would want to go to Portland otherwise? I mean, say you're excited to play with Damian Lillard or something. Yeah, something. That's what that's what I wanted. I mean, technically, we did cut him 2 years ago.
Taylor, I will talk. Me and Steven will talk about it on Saturday, Sunday. I don't know, sometime this weekend. But yeah, I don't know. Caleb Pendergraph, $2 dono says, Tory, would you prefer him to act like Beverley? Who is Beverley? I don't know who
Patrick Beverley.
I take Caleb for his word 100% of the time, Eric. I don't know who Beverley is. So, thank you for the $2 dono, Caleb. But, I don't know who Beverley is, man.
Yeah. Well,
Beverley. Patrick Beverley. What is it? I don't even know if I know how to spell it. I know it's Ley at the end. Beverley, I think is there you go. So Patrick Beverley? No, I don't want him to act like Patrick Beverley, man. I don't want him saying, yeah, well, Damian Lillard gets to play with me now. Like, what is that? That's just trolling. So, yeah. Anyway, Quincy had a dono as well. Yeah. I was gonna get to it, Quincy. It's just Caleb's popped up. So Quincy Briu, thank you, man, for the $5 dono. Says, been watching for a while. You guys are the most authentic fans. Keep up the great content. Thank you, Quincy. I appreciate it, man. And in regards to this conversation, like I'm just saying, like it's my fans' viewpoint, right? The thing is I had Chad doing, I had Stephen Vaughn, who are two media guys, you know, disagree with it, and it's like, man, I just authentically as a fan, it's not exactly what I wanted to hear. So that's what I said. You know, if you wanted to hear that, then cool. I don't have a problem with it. I'm not criticizing him. So, you know, I'm excited for GP2, man. Like, I don't think it's a situation where he's the type of guy to get paid and then not give the same level of effort, but we've seen that in the past, man. So it's like, well, now you got your contract. Like, I don't want it to be another situation where somebody comes in, got paid, and then doesn't give the same level of effort, because the effort he gives is such a high level of effort, and it's exactly what this team needs. Like, I want him to play like he played in Golden State before he got his contract, right? So, I think he will. That's why I don't have a problem with it. Like, I think that's in his DNA, but that's another reason why, just if you take any average player and you hear that, like, anyone else, it would probably make Blazer fans a little bit more nervous. Whereas, like, oh, well, this guy got paid. Is he going to play this with the same level of effort? Because, I mean, just this last year, Norman Powell got played. Where did his effort go this past year?
Yeah, if it was like DeMarcus Cousins or something, it's like, oh, I just took the money.
Yeah. So I don't think Gary Payton II is Norman Powell, but Norman Powell was like that, and that just frustrated me. That was literally in the past year.
Mm. Well, I mean, I know Gary Payton, obviously back to his Oregon State days, and yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but just like having watched him for so many years, I don't think he's the type of guy that'll rest on getting paid and yeah.
So we agree.
Yeah. So like I would have no problem with him admitting that he took the money, because I know he's going to give the best effort this year. So I'm not saying anything about you. I'm just saying that's how I looked at it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'm trying not to be too pessimistic going into next season, man, but I don't know. After last season, I was so hyped up for last season, then the effort was so dismal. It's like, I think this team will play harder. I've said it a million times, but I'm scared. I'm scared that I don't know, something's going to go wrong and guys are going to check out. I don't think this roster is built like that, but I can't be 100% confident after last year. I don't know why. Because I should be with the type of guys we have. We got some dogs. That's what we said we needed. We needed some dogs. We listed Josh Hart early last season, months before we traded him, for him as like one of those type of guys we needed to set the tone on defense. Now we got two of those guys. So I should have 100% confidence. Just after last season, I don't know why, but I don't. It's probably like 97% confidence that this team will play extremely hard night in, night out. I can't get it to 100, man.
See, the difference is, in my opinion, we were expecting guys to be different under a different coach last year, whereas the guys we're talking about this year are actually guys who are known for it already, so I don't see them just like,
I mean, I'm
not
confident.
buying into Chauncey's system like Norm and Rocco did. Like, I don't see that happening with guys who are have that kind of reputation. So I'm not worried about it, but yeah, it's kind of hard.
I'm not afraid. I'm rambling down like a nuanced rabbit hole with like, I can't have 100% confidence in anything this season. Like, even if it's something that I probably should, I can't have 100% confidence in anything, man. I just can't. I don't know why, but I felt like I was a little more confident than I should have been going into last year, and it's probably maybe an overcorrection, but I just can't be 100% sure of anything. So that's why like all off season since, free agency ended, basically, I've just been saying, well, it's just wait and see. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see if Ant's that guy. Let's wait and see if Nas breaks out and proves to be consistent. I have confidence in them, but I don't want to be overconfident again, is where I'm at. But I don't want to not be caught. So I'm just wait and see. Wait and see mode is what I'm in. And we only have like less than 3 weeks until media day, so it's almost due.
Yeah, I think this goes back to media day for me, where every single one of the players interviewed that day talked about accountability and then instantly showed no accountability. Some of them, so like, to me, the difference is Chauncey was hoping that some of those guys would become accountable. And I feel like the players who did not do that are gone now. And I feel like Chauncey and Cronin brought in players that they knew would be accountable and hold themselves accountable and allow Chauncey to hold them accountable. So like I feel like it's there. I don't know. I feel confident. I understand why you're gun shy about it, but like I feel pretty confident that that will not be the issue if this team doesn't succeed this year.
Yeah. I'm confident.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the thing. I'm talking like nuance, 95 versus 100%. You know, it doesn't even matter really. But W says, hey, some of us are facing potential forest fires, so some perspective, please. If you're dealing with any sort of forest fire, I know it's starting to become fire season, and like if you're facing that, my well wishes are with you, and you know, I hope it's something that doesn't turn into anything worse, because I know it's definitely, I couldn't imagine dealing with that close to where I live. I know that's very stressful, and it sucks how forest fires have gotten worse and worse and worse. So my well wishes are with you. I don't think my perspective is bad, though. I don't know what I should change with my perspective on the team. Like, I don't see how that. I don't see how my perspective on the team is necessarily wrong or bad. But let me know. You know, just let me know in chat, I guess. Reese says, I got an emergency alert today for high risk. Yeah, man. I mean, I know a lot of you in the Portland area are facing that. So hopefully, you know, hopefully it's something that's able to get under control. You got a lot of brave firefighters out there working that. So, yeah, well wishes, man. I mean, that's all I can pretty much say. You know, there's nothing I can say that'll fix it. So hopefully none of you guys have to deal with something worse.
Mm-hmm.
I always suck talking about like serious stuff on stream because we're joking about basketball. So that's my best attempt at talking about that. Hopefully it means something, I guess. Anyway.
I do want to talk about that Beverley comment, though. How dumb was that, man?
Beverley?
You see?
I thought you were talking about Caleb Pendergraft's comment. I was like, dang. No, the Beverley comment? Yeah. About him saying...
They need to play with me, not the other way around. Like, I made the playoffs last year. Dude, you freaking won a one-playing game against a team without Kawhi, and then you lost in the first round against a player like LeBron, who is like the second best player of all time at the very worst, and you're out here talking about how like you're better than them because you made the freaking first round of the playoffs. Shut up, man. Like, I love his attitude sometimes, but he's too over the top.
If it was somebody else, I feel like it would have come across like, haha, he's trolling, that's funny, right?
Anyone else other than Russell. If Russell said it, it would have been worse, but yeah.
So it's like, you know, if you know, a rookie came to Portland and was like, well, Damian Lillard gets to play with me, and said it with like a smile on his face. It's like, yeah, obviously you're joking.
O'Shea Agbaji's like, I won a national championship last year. Dame hasn't won a ring.
yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that'd be funny. But when it's Pat Bev, like, Pat Bev's the worst guy, like, because people are gonna take him seriously because he's just. Mm-hmm. You know, just such a character, man. Like, that is something Patrick Beverley... That is a way that Patrick Beverley would look at this. Yeah. Like, I would be surprised if he meant every word he said.
Right, yeah. I mean, that's just how he has to think to feed his mentality, you know, which is fine. But, yeah, it's just dumb. Yeah.
I hope you know, Caleb, that everybody that was in this chat will now spell it like Beverly for the foreseeable future. All right? So, you know, and that's going to be the new OG and a new boy. Right, shout out to you if you were there for the Anna New Boy when Eric called him OG and a new boy. There's, I don't know, that was gold. So Patrick Beverley is now a new name. He says he's doing it on purpose. Oh, that ruins it, Caleb. Oh man, well, you can't make it overkill, man. You can't do it on purpose. Eric didn't. You didn't do it on purpose with Anna New Boy, did you, Eric?
Not really, no.
Okay, yeah. See, it has to just be, you know, natural, right? So, anything else you want to talk about for this stream?
Taylor earlier said, yeah, it'd be hilarious if Gary Payton, instead of saying he took the money, said that he's always wanted Dame to get to play with him, so that's why he couldn't work.
He wanted to play with the best point guard in the league.
I won a championship last year. Dame gets to play with me now.
Yeah. I mean, or take a shot at Steph, man. If Steph's his guy, say he wants to play with the best point guard in the league. There you go. But, yeah, we'll have something on Monday, stream-wise. I want to touch upon, like, things we want to see in the next CBA. That would be a fun stream. Mm-hmm. Today we talked about, like, some expansion stuff. So if there's no news between now and Monday, then we can talk about things we want to see in the next CBA. That could be fun. And me and Eric, if you're new to the channel, we're some CBA nerds, so I feel like we can come up with some good ideas. Maybe take some stuff from other leagues in regards to their CBA and how they structure things, and it could make for a fun conversation. We try and teach you guys the CBA, but in an entertaining way, because, you know, it's hard. We're here to entertain you guys, but we also like hopefully making people maybe know more about the game or know more about how the league is run, know more about expansion. Hopefully you learn something from our talks about potential expansion today. Like, we like to educate people too, right? Because me and Eric have taken the time to taken many hours reading over CBA stuff, so we like to be able to bring that to you, hopefully in an entertaining way. That could be a fun stream. For those of you who have been with us for a while that maybe know a bit more about the CBA now. I know it's not going to be for everyone, but, you know, that's just the case in September. You know, like my top 100 series playlist, it's not for everyone. It's funny, Eric, because I look at the views, and if there's a Blazer in the thumbnail, it's like right around 1,000 or more views. If there's not a Blazer in the thumbnail, it's less, which is what I expected. So not everything's for everybody. I don't take any offense if, you know, you don't like certain stuff. You know, we just try and keep it fresh and come up with new things and that sort of thing. Anyway, anything else you want to touch upon? Oh, one final thing, because I forgot this, Eric. We are looking for somebody to help us with post-game graphics next season, because Chris is not going to be able to do every game. So we want to split it up, like, I don't know, half and half, or just, you know, have a second guy helping us with post-game graphics. So if you have some Photoshop experience and you want to help us, you will be compensated for your work. Email me, blazersuprise@gmail.com. Reach out to me on Twitter, @ToryJonesYT is the username. Reach out to Eric if you want to, @HoopsJock. Message us in the Discord. There's a link to the Discord server in the description box below. I will post, I'm just going to make a new link. So the one in the description box won't work, and I'll update the description, and I'll post it in chat. Discord link in chat, and I am updating it in the description. There we go. So Taylor, you can finally join the Discord, I guess. But yeah, Chris just has a lot going on. He's phenomenal. But if you have Photoshop experience and want to help us out for post-game shows next season, let us know. There's many ways to get in contact with us. And yeah, because I definitely need help with those graphics, because we do a lot for post-game shows, so that's the other thing I wanted to touch upon. So I'll be looking for somebody over the next month. Anything else, sir?
Reese wanted us to talk about Wembanyama. Yeah, 8-foot wingspan is insane.
7'4".
He measured 7'4" barefoot with a 8-foot wingspan. It's insane, dude. Like,
that dude is like a broken 2K character.
Yeah.
Like that in 2K, you used to be able to make these 7'4" players that would just move like guards and dribble like guards, and it was basically just a 7'4" guard, and it was like, that looks so unrealistic. A guy that size moving like that. That is what he reminds me of.
Mm-hmm. Whatever the last 2K game I had, which would have been, I think it was 2K20, because it was free on PlayStation Plus or something 1 month. Yeah, so you do the import of future drafts in a franchise mode or whatever. And yeah, well, I had Wembanyama. That was like years before, you know, most people had even heard of him, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was like the Blazers starting center in like 2025 or something.
Yeah. That's how I used to learn prospects in the future, was doing 2K like franchise mode rebuilds, that sort of thing. It did help me learn a lot about certain players' contracts and that sort of thing. I'm not buying another 2K, though. Started off the stream ranting about it, if you missed it, so.
And then Taylor wants us to have some sort of advice time at the end where he or other people could ask us life advice.
Like right now?
I guess. I don't know.
Sure, 5 minutes of life advice because it's 11:55 p.m. 5 minutes of life advice. At midnight, I can be mid-sentence. When that clock strikes midnight, we're done. All right, we're done. I'm hitting you with the peace out and the go Blazers. All right, so life advice time with Hoops Jock and Tory, because I don't have a cool moniker like that. But, yeah. Sure, life advice.
Who said we wouldn't be considerate, man? What the heck?
Yeah, now I don't want to give advice, man.
It was hilarious because last stream we were talking about the bug stream.
Yeah.
And of course, people found it. I think it was Trevin who found it.
Yeah, Taylor found it. Yeah.
And they posted it in Discord. But the whole, like, it was so chill back then. Like, I watched like the half an hour of the stream, and it was just us talking to chat about like random stuff. Like Zacho was supposed to meet up with some girl, and we were waiting to find out about that. And like,
those were the days. If you guys missed that, you guys missed out. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe you're not interested in that at all. But during, obviously, the pandemic and quarantine, when we had nothing to do, and, you know, we still wanted to stream and all that, but we didn't have any basketball or anything to talk about, it was just streams. I streamed, like, Rocket League a couple times on this channel. That's why I made the second channel, was so I could stream, like, some random stuff, and then it's become a show. So now I'm putting, like, the video versions of the Believe podcast up here, and, like, maybe in the future we'll do some more stuff with this channel. But that's why I made the second channel. It's just become, like, a specific show is basically what it's become. So, and like watch parties this year, if we do any like public watch parties, we'll do it on this channel. Post-game shows for the preseason we'll do on this channel. So we do some other stuff, but yeah, it's clearly about $5 dono. He says, what do I do for the next 7 weeks while my girl is backpacking through Europe? Thank you, Clearly a Bot, for the $5 dono. Eric.
I don't think you want my answer to this one.
What?
No.
I want your answer to this one, though.
Oh, I'll just lie and say, just play video games, and yeah.
Were you gonna say like scour the market or something?
No, because that's definitely not what she would be doing, backpacking in Europe for 7 weeks, right?
Oh, dude, how are you gonna do my guy like that, man? Oh, no.
Just kidding, Clearly.
Clearly a Bot's gonna be stressed.
Nah. I'm sure they have a very trusting relationship and everything is fine.
Yeah, dude, I've met Clearly a Bot. There's no way any female could ever cheat on him, so
true.
He shouldn't be worried.
Yeah.
But for 7 weeks, man, like, find a new hobby.
Well,
and then don't tell her about it. Find a new hobby, and then she comes back. She's like, oh my god, you can play the guitar now. It's so romantic. You welcome her back to you serenading her? Dude, you could really up your game and surprise her when she's back. So find a new passion.
Well, honestly, he was someone who said he wanted to meet up and play basketball, but every time I've invited him, he said he's been busy. So
he's now 2.0.
Now that you have all this time without, having to worry about, your significant other or whatever, like, yeah, you should have plenty of time to meet up and play some ball. So let's go tomorrow night. Let's play.
Yep, sounds good. Dude, Zach's comments always crack me up, man. Taylor Packer says, since he wanted the life advice, here we go. It's 11:59, Taylor. Let's see how many seconds we have. Oh, we have 25 seconds. He says, my first life advice question, I want a side piece, but don't want my main piece to know. How do I keep the side piece on the down low? Probably not posting about a side piece in a public YouTube live stream chat. That's probably not the way to go, and it's probably not the place to ask. And also, don't cheat, fellas. Dude, be the better man. I'm not gonna get people confused and think we're advocating for cheating. Don't do it. It's midnight. Anything else, Eric?
Faisal, hit me up on Discord or Twitter or something if you want to be notified on that.
Yep, and Taylor says it's not cheating, just a side piece. If she wants you to have another, like if it wants to be an open relationship or she wants some sort of triangle thing, then why do you have to keep it on the down low? You know, maybe she does want a triangle.
Yeah.
Have fun. Go, whatever you guys want, whatever, that's what you guys want. Anyway, that wraps up this episode of Blazers Uprise Live. Thank you, chat, for always entertaining us. Taylor, that still makes no sense. We'll have another live stream on Monday. I will have top 100 player series. The next 2 will be going out in the next day. I'll probably just drop 2 tomorrow. I always like to try and keep the upload streak going, but obviously none today because I recorded 20 players without my mic on, which was just ridiculous. But I did get my computer fixed, and that makes me happy. So, final words from Mr.
Thank you to everyone for watching. Fun stream, and appreciate everyone who watched tonight, and thank you to all the people who donated, especially the 2 guys who said that they found us recently and have enjoyed the stream, so appreciate all the feedback, and then for our OGs who donated as well, thank you.
Yep, appreciate all the support, guys. It truly means a lot. With that being said, we are out of here. We'll catch you next time. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.